शेड्यूल भेज सकते हैं आप, बायोडाटा रीडिंग और रिपोर्ट रीडिंग का?
हाँ हाँ, भेजता हूँ सर, 2 मिनट में भेजता हूँ सर।
चेंजेस सर, एनी चेंज?
नो सर, नो चेंज.
सर समरी रिपोर्ट साठी मेल आयडी कोणता आपला, कोणत्यावर पाठवायचं?
तेच आपले FIP वरती पाठवायचं सर.
ओके ओके, थँक्यू.
Okay. आएंगे लोग आएंगे तो फिर ऑडियो इनेबल है
I think our expert has joined. Hello, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are on.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Is room 77? Room 77? Is room 1? Room 14? कुलकर्णी सर? Room 14?
So, without further delay, I would like to request Professor Patil kindly deliberate the.
आपका आवाज नहीं आ रहा बराबर से.
Shall I again take the opportunity to introduce?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. बोलिए.
Okay, please. Sir, am I audible, please?
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. बोलिए.
Okay, please. We are having for the second.
Roll number 23.
Hello, good afternoon, all of you.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Why the session, is there any interference? Net problem is there?
हा सर ते मॅमचा इश्यू होते सर तुमचं
कोणत्या मॅडम आहेत?
ते बाहेरचे आहे सर ते त्यांना मी ते फोन करतो 1-2 मिनिटात.
सर नाही का? राफे सर नाही का?
सर आपले सर मे मीटिंगला गेले. मी तर करतो सर ते
कुठे गेले?
मॅडम मे मीटिंगला गेले सर.
तर गौरव तर
हो सर. येस.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are quite audible. You please tell.
Yes, ma'am.
Please. Sir is having the research and the visiting professor of different international levels. Sir has completed more than 12 projects and 16 books. So without further delay, I will request our today's resource person, Professor Satish Patil, kindly start with the deliberation.
Anyhow, where from you are, ma'am? From which state you are? Can you hear me?
ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट प्लीज आपका माइक आप अनम्यूट कर सकते हैं. ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yes, sir.
You first show me your all faces. You show me, then you can. Then you can mute yourself. First, start your
ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट काइंडली आपका वीडियो ऑन कीजिए.
वीडियो ऑन कीजिए. How many participants are there? I could see there are some 35 participants, but only 4 cameras are on. You please on your camera, all the participants. Can I start my lecture?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Why are others are not making camera on? I don't know. Okay. So as I belongs to the subject of environmental science, but in fact, I worked on the several administrative positions in my university, as well as in other universities too. And as it is a orientation course, I believe. Is it orientation? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Induction, sir.
Induction course. Okay.
Yes.
Shall I go as per my subject, or you want something different? The different kind of orientation where you need to have something as far as the research is concerned, or the research projects are concerned, or examination orientations, or some NEP platforms. Anything can be taken up for the discussions, or even if not, if you want something from my side, my subject, we can discuss the aspects on the as we believe all the times in economics, that is we call it as the environmental economics. We can also discuss on it, or otherwise we can also discuss on the climate change, sustainability issues, then the human rights, in world
Sir,
environment. Any of the aspects we can discuss when
Sir,
you.
I will request you if we'll discuss, because you have n number of hours. So at least half an hour or 1 hour, if we can discuss about environment and sustainability. And into that, we can discuss about climate change. Climate, exactly. If you can just tell us a little bit about climate finance and
Okay.
yes, ESG. So that will be great.
Okay.
And ESG is just a hoax, or is it really going to be a big thing tomorrow? Because maximum times it's a debatable topic. Like every time, is it that important, or it's just making nothing?
But see, when it's just which I told you just now, there is a environmental economics.
Right,
In fact, this is a burning topic today in the world, and we should give insight that how
right,
the economics can be achieved by allowing
right,
resources to renew themselves. Because you know that
right.
when we are talking about the economics, till the pandemics, we were found to be in brown economy.
Oh,
Brown
yeah,
economy is what? After exploiting the resources and situation, we were earning the money. And nobody was nobody was thinking about that what will happen with the resources. Because
true.
everybody was exploiting the resources like anything, what they wanted to be. But after pandemic, we realized the importance of the all kinds of resources. Of course, the importance was also there, but now when we were found to be threatened by the paucity of the resources like oxygen, pure water, clean environment, cleanliness, and even the communicable diseases. Then we were found to be so much worried, and then we opened our eyes, and then we were thinking about, let us go for green economy, not brown economy. That means allowing a resource to renew, and to see that not by exploiting the resources, but by using a proper appropriate using of the resources. The resources can be the economy can be earned like that. Now we are in the different era. Today we will have a discussion on the same line, that how to achieve the economy that is from the environmental resources, not by cutting them, but allowing them to renew, sometimes sharing the resources with a proper way and using it in at our own way, not own way, but whatever the resources which are being allowed to us to renew or to use it, within that limit, how we can use the resources. I think we can discuss in this topic also. And
Sir,
accordingly,
sorry to interrupt once again. I'm really sorry. Can we go a bit backward? Because being a professor or being a teacher, faculty, whatever, many a times students come to us and ask us, "Ki what exactly course or program we should take? Like agriculture environment, what agriculture technology, environment. So which are the, so just let, because we are not from the same field, we don't know how to guide those people. तो अगर आप पीछे से स्टार्ट से आफ्टर 12th और आफ्टर 10th व्हाट हैज टू बी टेकन फॉर पीपल हु आर इंटरेस्टेड इन दिस पर्टिकुलर साइंस एनवायरनमेंट एंड एवरीथिंग, और उसके बाद इफ यू कैन वी कैन गो टू सब्जेक्ट दैट विल बी ग्रेट.
okay. No, so as you are talking about, then I'll be very much interested in looking for the aspects of like a the how the sustainable development. What is the role of, now we are in the age of AI, artificial intelligence, and what is the role of this AI in sustainable development and meeting the environmental challenges? That line also we can discuss, but further we can discuss in the latter part of our discussion. But to begin with, it's okay. I think when we are talking about the environmental economics, we'll talk about the economics, how to achieve the economics by allowing resources to allow, and how that we should rationalize the resource use, that we'll discuss. Now, whenever we are talking about the environmental economics, just to gear up you all, see, the world is around economy. Everybody is after economics. Whether it is a resource, whether it is a human, any kind of resource, whether it is a natural resources or human resources or the economic resources. Everybody is after economy. And you know that the development is around the economy. Any kind of development is only absolutely around the economy. That people wanted to have economic development, whether it is a materialistic development, whether it is a resource management, or whether it is a what I mean to say, the resource allocation, or even it can be the environmental goods and services what we wanted to have from the environment, and even the sustainable development strategies, whatever it has been designed. Through that also, we were found to be a treaty for many of the countries, like other countries. But you know that the sustainable development strategies, as it is being designed, and we are found to be a party for these strategies, where we are from all these point of view that we'll discuss, and the what are the cost and benefits when we go for the environmental economics, that we call as a cost benefit analysis. That is very important, that we'll see in the during my lecture. I think I have, can I share one PPT with you?
Yes, yes, sir.
1 minute. Right. Economics PPT.
Once you are using
Economics.
economics, is take share.
Okay. Can you see the PPT?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir, your PPT is visible.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir, yes, it's visible.
Clear.
You can go to the slideshow.
1 minute, I'll make it a slideshow. Slideshow.
Where is this one? So next.
Look. Any over? Full screen?
Full screen sir.
नहीं इतना हुआ
Yes, sir. ये presentation इतने लोग देख रहे बोले पता.
ठीक. Okay, anyway, when we are talking about the environmental economics, which is nothing but the unwavering the dimensions of the environmental economics, these are the dimensions of the environmental economics. First is, as I told you, that analyzing the economic impact of the policies, because you know there are so many policies with regard to the resources, natural resources, ecology, ecosystems, and even in Agenda 21, there are so many things which has been declared by the nation that they will go for strategically with that. But the most important is that the understanding of the resource allocation, because whatever the resource which are being allocated, that we should be able to understand what is our role into it and how these resources can be utilized. Second is, we should valuing the environmental goods and services. That is also very important, that we should look into it. And then developing the designing the sustainable development strategies. And lastly, that we'll talk about the cost benefit analysis, which I told you now. Now, see, in order to balance the economic growth and the environmental sustainability, these are the 4 pillars that we should look into it. That the sustainable resource use, because we need to ensure how these current activities are going to affect the resource use, and which activities they do not compromise the future needs. That is we call it sustainable development. That is the development which we wanted to sort to see that without compromising the ability of the future generations, how this development can be achieved. Second is efficient allocation. You know that as far as the resources are concerned, we are not found to be so much of strategic while using all kinds of resources. And in order to optimize these resources, there should be optimization use of the limited resources. Like today we are talking about these resources, that is water and forest are the limited resources. Because you know that the water level has gone down, more or less there's an uneven distribution of the rainfall, and even the forest cut is moreover, you ever seen in the earlier centuries that such kind of forest or deforestation what we are looking for. Then the green growth strategies, that we need to adopt the green growth strategies. That is that we need to promote the investment in the eco-friendly technologies. That is another part. And then whatever the development we would like to achieve, this development should be inclusive development. That is, there should be equitable shares, the environmental benefits and the cost. I think my whole discussion will be around these 4 aspects. Now, when we are talking about the balancing of the environmental impact of the economic activities, because you know that for the sake of economy, we know that we are using resources like anything, but we should see that what is the negative externality and positive externality. For example, a pollution which harms the health, that is a negative externality. But you know that when you go for the tree plantations or trees, that will enhance your air quality. And now we have to balance the negative externality with the positive externality. That is very, very important, because you know that henceforth the development cannot be stopped. Resource utilization also will not be, though there will be a restricted use, but it will not be banned. And the most important part, that whenever we are going with the pollutional aspects, or even the several kinds of pollutant they are releasing into the atmosphere, but at the same time we should have to have efforts to see that how this pollution can be mitigated by improving the environmental resources quality. That too, for example, the air quality, water quality, soil quality, even the sound, that is also very important, that we should see the positive and negative externalities. Now, the basic concept of this environmental economy is there are several environmental factors. For example, the clean air, biodiversity, and climate stability, as the earlier madam was talking, right? One. What will happen with the climate sustainability? That is very important part. And whenever we are talking about the clean air, it is very essential for health and well-being. But what is to be done in order to get a clean air? I think we need to ask question to ourselves, how the clean air can be achieved, because without air we can't sustain, we can't inhale. And the most important part is that we should realize the services which has been provided by the biodiversity, that is ecological and ecosystem services which are being provided by the biodiversity. And that is what? The biodiversity services, that is services of the ecology and ecosystem services, can be received only by improving the biodiversity status of the nation by using variety of lives in ecosystems, by improving their life, the life of plants and animals in the ecosystems. And then the climate stability. Here you know that now we are talking about the climate. Climatic change is a talk of the nation, not only nation. It is a global worry which has been expressed, that what will happen with the climate, how to stabilize it. In order to stabilize the climate, we need to balance a climatic systems over a period of time. That is very important part that we should see. So whenever we are talking about the market failures, that too environmental market failures, because we should realize the resource value, because you know that today the high impact activities that we could see that though they are human induced, but for example, let us take example pollutions, which is less visible but has severe environmental consequences. Another part is overfishing is also highly visible, but significantly impacts the marine ecosystems. These are having visible impact what we could see. And the low visibility, where you will find that the information, asymmetric information which is not easily seen and has some minimal immediate impact on it. These are the low impact areas. And the high visibility is that the deforestation which is going on through several decades is a visible, but its impact is comparatively lower. And that is what we must discuss. What are the activities which are having a higher impact, and what are the activities which we need to go for, which has a low impact. That is very important when we are talking about the economics. Now, when we are exploring the cost benefit, that is CBA in environmental context, it is very important that we are paying a very huge cost on the part of pollution. That is we call it the pollution cost. Because you know that the issue of climate changes, and even today we know that the climate which is being severely affected because of these greenhouse gases. And carbon dioxide is a major culprit amongst the greenhouse gases, where we could see that we need to analyze the economic implications of all these polluting substances in society as well as in environment. Of course, there are many regulations. In India, we have signed 200 treaties, rules, regulations, and acts. We are found to be a party amongst all the treaties. But in spite of that, we have every opportunity to assess the economic advantage of the implementing the environmental regulations. Particularly, you know that the country, India, the country which is found to be an industrialized country now. Though we are found to be amongst the mega biodiversity countries, because you know there are 6 biodiversity hotspots which are in India. But in spite of that, you know that we are found to be in 7th era of industrialization. And as like other Western countries or industrialized countries, in India also there are several industrial sectors which are continuously polluting not only our atmosphere but also every resource which is found to be indispensable for our life, sustaining our life. Because there are several dams and the lakes and canals which are also being constructed for ascertaining the water benefits. But you know that when we wanted to assess, when we are going for assessment of economic impact of the environmental trade-offs of the dam construction, even there are so many displacements. And because of this dam, we are wasting several valuable resources of that area. And that is what it is very, very important to see that the wetlands of the country, they also need to be protected, because they are also having several economic benefits of this wetlands, and the environmental protection of the wetland conservation is also needs to be given a significant importance in the years to come. Now, if we talk or if we discuss about the environmental impact, economic impact versus environmental cost of the negative externalities, which I told you that, like a deforestation and the pollution. These are the negative externalities, which is having a high environmental cost, but we are paying for it. Let us take an example of air. We realize the importance of oxygen during pandemics. That to a natural oxygen which we receive from the plants, trees, and relatively a good atmosphere in and around your residence or the residing areas. And then even the pure water, clean water, potable water, what we are talking about, the several concepts of water, what we are using. But you know that the pollution, all kinds of pollution, whether it is soil, water, air, which has a significant environmental cost, which has a significant environmental economic cost, due to what? Its widespread impact. And no efforts are being deliberately made that how to combat with the pollutional aspect, how to deal with what is to be done. We wanted to have a resource of every kind, but we don't see that the resources what we are receiving at our own end is they are found to be in the purified form, usable form, which are going to benefit the wealth of the ever human. And that is very, very important thing, which has a high economic cost, what we are paying. For example, the cost we paying against the health and wealth. You know that 90% of the diseases are being introduced through the air and water in our body. And even then, we are not worried about them, at least to receive them in a usable form to us. And another factor is the deforestation, which has though it has a low economic impact, but the deforestation incurs a high environmental cost, despite the immediate economic impact, low economic impact. But you know that even though a deforestation has created a lot of economic impact, though it is found to be low, but it is as high as the pollution load which is being put into the nature by our every activities. Now, how to share these benefits in society? Because you know that when we are talking about the benefits, we should receive benefits not only at the individual level, but even at the activities level, society level, firm level. It is very important. And when we are talking about the actionable or the actions of the individual, that creates a social benefits or societal benefits. This kind of activities also to be always needs to be encouraged. And even the firm or the institute activities, they generate a positive societal impact. Because you know that whatever the benefits in the environmental or economic benefit that needs to be shared in the society with these ways, not at only society level, but even at the individual level too. Now, so this is a this is a pillar of economic growth and environmental health. As I told you that for the sake of economy, we are going for the overproduction. And for getting money, for securing more and more money, we are exploiting the resources. But at the same time, you know that as we are only after the production and the marketing and even industrialization, there are a lot of environmental degradables we are releasing into the atmosphere in terms of the atmosphere, that is air and water pollutants, even soil pollutants also, and microbials also. And because of this economic overproduction, there is a rise in the product prices. And for meeting out these prices, we are degrading more and more environment. And it has a severe environmental impact. And that is what we have to think of, that how to balance this economic growth with the environmental health. That is very, very important, but that we should look at. Now, for that purpose, we should be able to understand the public goods. Understanding the public goods, like for example, let us take example of this is non-exclusivity. So here no one can be prevented from the using the resources. But you know that one person's use doesn't reduce the availability of other. But only the thing is that the resources, though they are to be shared, but at the same time, the wise use of the resources to be allowed, and that should be done. Another example is, for example, the clean, if the resources are being shared and these resources are found to be non-exclusive, then you will find that the clean air and even the where the resources are found to be ample, like a public parks, the national defense, clean air, that you can realize. Of course, as I told you that the government role is also there, but you know that government role is only up to just to have a government intervention with that. But you know that as we are found to be a beneficiary of all these resources, we should be more careful and alert in receiving all kinds of resources in its usable form, that to pure form. Now, here, of course, as I told you that what are the pros and cons of this environmental economics? When we are talking about the economics, there is a direct measurement. Even the technologies that we are using for its rational use of the resources, the applications are found to be versatile. And let us take another example, that what should be the public preferences? When we are talking about the public preferences, as I told you that this conjoint valuation method, which will certainly reflect that the public preferences are changing. They wanted to have a good quality of life. What is the good quality of life? Good quality of life means every person wants enough infrastructure, good infrastructure with a quality of the environmental resources, that to air, water, soil, like that. And if he receives all these resources, infra as well as the quality, environmental quality, then he may be having a good quality of life. And cons are that nothing but the resources used are subject to the bias. There should not be any hypothetical scenarios all the time it is being expressed that the resources are found to be there are some misconceptions with regard to the resources. And when we are talking about the cost, environmental cost, we should have to have such kind of measures where we have a potential for its overestimation. That is very important part that when we are talking about the resources. Another is what? When we are talking about the sustainable development, in sustainable pros or cons of the sustainable developments. As I told you that sustainable development means we are meeting the required present needs without compromising the ability of the future generations, which also helps us to secure the future resources, balances the growth and sustainability, as well as promote the equity and quality of life, which can be also enhanced. But you know that as there is a increase in the increased scenario of the climate change. Of course, as I told you that we are paying a high initial cost for it. But you know that when there is no resources are being balanced into it, in order to provide a good services to the customer, we require a long-term commitment as far as the resource input is concerned. And there's always potential conflicts are there going on with a limited immediate impact or benefit. And it is very important that when we are talking about the strategies and the legislations, its implementation is very important, which is found to be complex today. Now, this is a cycle of renewable resource renewal. For example, as I told you that a forest regrowth, which is a very important part, there is tree growth after the harvesting, that should be addressed. Now we are going for the enough solar energy collection today, but you know that the ultimate supply from the sun is the biggest source of solar energy, where we need to harness this energy, which can be used for the different forms. Now we are going for solar energy as well as wind energy. Even water cycle renewal is also going on. And the most important, the energy from the biomass production, where the organic materials can be managed or it can be regenerated by generating the energy resource from this. Now, these are the economic instruments for the environmental management, like subsidies for the solar panels that we are giving. Our government is also encouraging the use of solar panels, that is solar energy adoption, with the minimal economic impact or the incentives. Then the carbon tax. Here, it is very important. Whenever we are going for the economic development, here the carbon tax effectively reduces the carbon emissions through the high economic incentives. That is very important. Nowadays, the days will come where we'll have to pay a tangible carbon tax in terms of the money, because you know that the carbon sequestration and carbon credit will be a trump card in the futures to come, particularly for the developing countries like India, where we are also found to be a party of the climate change strategies. Now, there also we are providing carbon, that is farming subsidies, that to organic farming subsidies. And there are also some tradable permits which are being equally given for the industries to balance the emission cost effectively with the flexible pollution trading. Because you know that in carbon trading, we have enough opportunity to sequester the carbon and trade the credits of the carbon to the nations or to the companies who are exploiting or who are releasing more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere in terms of the greenhouse gases or the other pollutants. Now, this is a categorization of the market-based environmental instruments which we are looking for, like a carbon tax. There is an international mechanism where we could found that the carbon cost, imposing the carbon cost directly in the form of taxes on the emissions. Of course, under the CSR, there is and VSR, the cap and trade system which is being implemented in the industrial area, where the industries are being encouraged for emission reductions through the market-based trading mechanisms. CER and VR, compulsory emission reduction and voluntary emission reductions. And there are certain subsidies which are being offered for the green practices. Because nowadays, the markets are found to be having a sustainable practices, making them financially accessible through the subsidies. And as I told you that under the VR, there's an every opportunity to every of the citizen to store or to create offshoots. That is a voluntary of carbon offshoots, which can be purchased for the environmental responsibility by the countries, by the developed countries who have already exploited the resources at an alarming rate. Now, when we compare the economic and the environmental impact, as I told you that on one side there is eco-friendly product that we should go for with a low economic impact output, where we need to prioritize the environmental health despite the low economic output. But at the same time, as I told you that when we are looking for the economic growth, here we need to balance this economic performance with the strong environmental health. Otherwise, what will happen? Economy and environment, these are found to be two sides of the coin. But when we are talking about the economic benefit of this environmental resources, but at the same time, we should see that how this economic growth can be achieved with the environmental cost. Because achieving the economic growth at the expense of the environmental health is not affordable at all. And you know that now we are inviting world's biggest industries in our country without any cognizance of pollution, particularly which is being created by the heavy industries. Though there are several reports which have been published, by the nation for critically polluted zones, which is having a high impact of the pollutants on the resources. Even then, we are going for installation of new industries in the country without any strategic planning for it. Of course, there is even no zoning of the industries. As per the needs and as per the space which is available, as per the government willingness that we are going for the many of the industrializations. Now, when we are talking about the economic impact of the climate change and what kind of mitigation strategy which we need to adopt, of course, we are going for the insurance and the finance for many of the activities, particularly in agriculture sector or even infrastructure sectors. But we should have to have mitigation strategies for the same. Because you know that when we are talking about the impact of the climate change, in terms of what? In terms of health and in terms of water resources. It is very, very important that we are paying a very huge cost. Economy means that it doesn't mean that you are just earning this economic benefit. But paying some cost is also the economy that we are losing for. And you know that we are paying a huge amount on securing the water resources today at the world level. Now, there are several environmental policies and several strategies which has been adopted so far. But you know that in industries, though there are several technologies which has been evolved to some extent to mitigate and to avoid the pollutions by improving the performance of the instruments in the process units. But you know that though it is the mandatory use of the scrubbers, which can be uniformly enforced technology with the use of limited flexibility. But at the same time, you should know that at the same time we are giving a tradable pollution permits, which particularly ensures the flexible compliance through the market-based trading. Nowadays, the trading strategies which are being adopted across the country, across the state, and there are certain emission limits which are, though they are put on the factories, because there is a direct regulation with the rigid compliance standards. But you know that now we are going for the carbon tax. We are paying a huge amount of the carbon, that way carbon dioxide which is released into atmosphere, which provides economic incentives with the modern flexibility when we are going for the carbon tax. And you know that in order to avoid the tax, there are certain mitigation strategies and even trading options and the carbon credit systems which we are going for, to see that we should be able to trade the carbon, whatever we are being able to sequester from our point of view. Now, when we are talking about the economic development and the environmental impact at the three stages, that is the low income stages, middle income stages, and high income stages. Particularly the low income stages, you will see that the pollution increases due to the industrializations and the lack of regulations are being adopted there, though there are certain regulations, but the less adaptability is there, particularly by the low income peoples. In middle income stage, the environmental degradables, it is found to be at the peaks with the rapid economic growth and the insufficient safeguards. Whereas in high income stage, the investment which is being made into the cleaner technologies and a strict law which can lead to a decline in pollution. And that is what in industry also we should see that in order to mitigate these pollutants, we should go for the higher end equipments, high end technologies that we should go for it. And that is what in India, we have a major small scale and middle scale industries that we call it the R54 industries, that too. And we also have a very few number of R70 industries, 70 type of category industries where we have enough technological advancements to lead the decline in pollutant level. Now, this is a concept of circular economy. The circular economy cycle. One is, you know that the most important part is that first is to minimize the waste. We should give a more focus on what? On reducing the waste generation. Because waste reduction is the economic protection. Because as you create a more waste, you'll have to pay more tax on it. You'll pay more cost on it. Second is that we should go for the maximize the resources. Resources need to be maximized. They should be. Who's talking? 65. Number 65?
No, sir, I'm not talking. My mic is off.
Okay.
It was somebody else.
Okay. See that when we are talking about the max. Who is 62?
Roll number 62. Roll number 62. Please mute your mic.
Please mute your mic.
सर माझं पटकन घेतलं तुमचं घेतलं नाही आज पहिल्याच ह्याच्यात माझं
Roll number 62.
Roll number 62.
I
Yes, sir. You can continue, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now, in order to maximize the resources, you know that for that purpose, we need to optimize the use of the available resources. That effective and efficient use of the resources. That is very important part. Let us take an example of water. Looking for water requirement, you are using excessive water. We are securing excessive water. We are storing
आवरून तिकडे जायचं म्हणजे तिकडे कमीत कमी वेळ नको होता.
Roll number 62. Ma'am.
You get a number, you get a name from them, and then you bring them.
26 जानेवारीच्या दिवशी आहे 26 जानेवारीच्या दिवशी
Who is roll number 62?
तिकडे जायचं नाही
Is
होतं.
disturbing all. Shall we continue?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. See, the country like India, where we are found to be having ample resources, though the situation is alarming, resource situation is alarming, but it is not yet out of wood. And that is what we are found to be casual in using the resources wisely. And there is a need to have efficient and effective use of the resources.
ते नाही म्हणत नाही कधी गणेश जयंती देणार आहे आई हेमा ठेवायची राहिले ऐक
Veena, ma'am.
हेमा ठेवायची राहिले ना कुठं ठेवू
Veena, ma'am.
शिवाक लावला कोण जावं हा का मावशी माझं एक काम करता
कोण आहे तो ना लाखाच्या पुढे चाललंय सोनं बाई
62.
10,000
Please ring the professor, the assistant director of this, and you tell him.
Sure, sir.
बाई तुम्ही काल सोनं 10,000 रुपयांनी वाढले आम्ही पण बुक करून ठेवले नव्हते नाही ते पुढे म्हणे मामा वारली तिचे वारली तिचे कोणती मामी म्हणे देवळालीची मामी माझीच नातेवाईक काय तू माझ्याकडे मी त्याला भावच नाही त्यावेळेस नाही झापलेले बोलूनच देत नव्हते त्याचा भाऊ पळून गेला होता हा. मला सारे तर्क तिथं ते
Sir, you can continue. I have contact to the government, sir.
एंट्री करीत नाही जाता येतात म्हणे फक्त थंब करीत नाही म्हणलं थंबच लिहिलंच फक्त
Have you talked with Rafael?
Yes, sir. I have contact to Gaurav, sir. He is taking care.
You just get a name of her. Because she's frequently talking
Yes,
and
No, sir. I have conveyed to the Gaurav, sir. Gaurav Jadhav.
the countries like India, we do not have any habits of reusing the materials. Because the concept of 3R, 4R, 7R, which is not being effectively implemented in the countries like ours, because we have enough resources. And as we are only looking after the materialistic development, we do not have any ethical values of the resource. And that is what we need to encourage the re-preparing or even the reuse of the materials. That is very, very important. And as I told you that the products that needs to be recycled, which can certainly facilitate the recycling processes, and the product can be reused and reutilized several times till it is found to be efficient. And that is what. This is the way where we always should go for regenerating the resources, where the resources that needs to be renewed all the time, as and when it is being required and it is being allowed to go for its reuse. That is very important. That is a circular economic cycle that we should go. Reduction is nothing but a conservation by production. And that is what the wise use of the resources will help to improve your economic status also, will to improve your economy also, at an individual level, at the institution level also. That is very important. Now, we all know that Kyoto, the Kyoto Protocol, in order to phase out the polluting substances, the main objective of the Kyoto Protocol to have emission reductions all the time and even there are certain market-based mechanisms which is being developed for the CDM, that is Clean Development Mechanism, joint implementation and the emission trading. These are the market-based mechanisms which are already being developed, because emission trading, the concept which is being implemented at the global level, and even by improving the technology and processing into the units, in-house management of the resources and the technology that comes under the CDM, that is Clean Development Mechanism. And there are certain programs which are also that needs to be implemented with the joint implementation, not only by the employer, but also employees, employer, as well as those who are found to be internal, external business opportunities, that they all should go for the market-based mechanisms. Through this protocol, we also have to have a common but differentiated responsibilities, where we need to develop a national repository or responsibility. What are our nation's responsibility? And what is our flexibility? That also we need to develop a common program, minimum common program for that. That is, what is our responsibility and how much we should be flexible as per the resource use are concerned. And of course, there are many challenges. That is, there are so many non-ratification protocols which we need to go for it, because you know that the challenges are, but particularly the countries like India, where we do not have any binding targets, and also we realized up till now that there is a low global impact, but you know that we are found to be victimized because of the global changes which are going on in every kind of market, whether it is a resource, whether it is a product, or whether it is a technology. The high impact of this, we are suffering for it. Now, this is a unpacking carbon tax strategies that we need to go. Like countries like Sweden and Canada, they have implemented the effective carbon taxes. The countries like India, where we are found to be worstly affected from different kind of pollutions, we also seriously thinking for carbon tax. How it works? There's a fees based on the CO2 emissions from the activities. If it happens to our country, you will see that we'll have to pay more cost than anything what we earn. Second important part is that the tax which needs to be levied on the fossil fuels carbon content, because you know that still we are dependent on for many of the resources on the system, government system. But you know that when we are talking about its economic impact, you know that we need to encourage the innovation to generate the government revenues. Now we are going for example, let us take example of solar power. Earlier, some 5 years back, we were found to be in big electricity crisis. But if you see that, as we have opted so many options to harness the solar energy or to harness the electricity from the different sources, I think we could realize and we could reduce the dependence on the fossil fuels. Because you know that the sole purpose of this carbon tax is to internationalize the external cost of carbon emissions. We need to internationalize the external cost of the carbon emissions, because unless and until we don't internationalize it, I think you will not be able to trade your carbon. Whatever the carbon you have a potential to credit, the first step is to sequester it. Before that we should create a carbon sink for it, then sequester it to the fullest extent potential, and whatever the carbon which needs to be sequestered, that needs to be created. And after enough credentials, you have an every opportunity to trade it to the countries, those who are really found to be exploiting these resources. Now, the sustainable growth through the innovative green technologies. As I told you that whenever we are talking about the external growth, these kind of technologies, because you know that nowadays there are several ways which are being opted for the development of technologies that minimize the environmental impact. Because when we are going for the green kind of innovation, we should see that for what purpose we are evolving this technology. And as we know that every technology is for economic growth. And in order to achieve the economic growth without harming the environment, we should go for the green innovation, green technologies. Are you getting me? We all know that the benefits of the green technology, which particularly ensures the resource efficiency and create a green jobs. Green jobs may not have any job recessions. Example, technologies like solar panels and electric vehicles that support the sustainability. And that is what, in order to go for the economy, if we have a green kind of innovation, definitely it will be a green economy that we are looking for. So that environmental economics is very crucial for building the sustainable, equitable, and prosperous life. Thank you. I think with this, we'll have a break of 5 minutes, and then we'll talk about the other aspects. Which aspect we would like to talk? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Anything?
So you can continue on this environmental studies and environmental economic growth.
Yeah. So that I can go for the green economy.
Correct, sir.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Just have a break of 5 minutes. ये चालू है ऊपर
अनम्यूट है सर
है ना 5 मिनट
वीडियो
ठीक है ना 5 मिनट Okay, shall we start?
Yes, sir, you can start, sir.
Please, yes.
I think when we are talking about the green economy, we all know that what is green economy. It is nothing but it is for the human well-being and societal equity, for reducing the environmental risk and ecological sacrifices. So it is not an economy which particularly results in reducing the environmental risk and ecological sacrifices, and which particularly aims for the sustainable development without degrading the environment. So this is one of the model which is being evolved or a result the improved human well-being.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Are you sharing any PowerPoint slide?
It is not seen.
No,
Sharing.
it's not visible, sir. It's not visible, sir.
Okay.
It's visible now, sir.
Is it visible? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this, as I told you, that green economy, it is nothing but reducing the environmental risk and the ecological sacrifices. And that is what, when we are talking about the green economy, the economy which we need to go for without any environmental risk and the ecological sacrifices, which particularly aims for the sustainable development without degrading the environment. And green economy can be achieved, as like it has been mentioned, by producing the low carbon footprints, efficient use of the resources, and whatever the economy we would like to achieve, that should be socially inclusive, not socially exclusive economy. Now, these are the three pillars of the economy, that is low carbon, resource efficiency, and the socially inclusive growth or the development that needs to be achieved, which can certainly ascertain a green economy. So why we should go for the green economy? Because you know that we can nowadays we can take a advantage of this growth trajectories which are designed to more socially inclusive as well as environmentally responsive to poverty eradication and the economic diversification. Now, this green economy paradigm, which can drive the growth of income and jobs without creating any environmental risk, which is nothing but it is a very important economic vehicle for the sustainable development, where we can burn out the multiple crises and accelerate the resource scarcity. Now, this is a global momentum for the transition to the green economy. As I told you that now we are, that the world is after facing the severe impact of the climate change. And because of the changing climatic scenario, we are facing the financial crisis, food crisis, as well as fuel crisis too. But you know that the financial crisis is too much. And that is what? Accelerating the carbon emissions. This is all mounting the threats of the climate change with the potentially disastrous human consequences. And these crises, which are impacting the possibility of sustaining the prosperity worldwide. And they are also what I mean to say, these all compounding the persistent social problems, such as we all know that the job losses, socio-economic disparities, diseases, and even the social instability. These are the outcomes of the climatic change, where we should always go for harnessing the green economy. Now, there are causes of this crisis vary, but you know that because of the misallocation of the capital, this is all rising. Since last 2 decades, much of the capital which is being poured on which is being poured in there is property and the fossil fuels, and also the structural, financial, and the assets which are being embedded into the derivatives. And that is what it is very, very important that we know that we are looking for the oil, natural gas, and coal, and that for these all resources, all the time we are dependent on each other. But you know that now we are looking for the stocks, bonds, commodities, and even the currencies, international tariffs, international rates, and market values also, market indices also we are looking for the economy. And that is what it is very, very important that, see, when we are talking about the renewable energy, which is also a green energy, we call it, but you know that there's a relatively very little money was invested in renewable energy, because you know that there are certain issues as far as the energy efficiency is concerned, and that is what we are using on-grid transportation of energies, electricity, that too. We are also worried about the public transportations. The green economic or this green economic vehicle can be put into public transportation, sustainable agricultures, ecosystem services, biodiversity protection, and the land and water conservation, where we can conserve the water also here. That is what it is very, very important that we should go for such kind of economy. Now, as I told you that earlier we were found to be in brown economy, because you know that currently this brown economy was heavily weighted towards and encouraged the prevailing brown economy, which all the way depends upon the fossil fuel. Because you know that the resource depletion and the environmental degradation, this is a ongoing scenario of in the global market. But you know that as this brown economy has pulled us in releasing the high carbon, resource inefficiency, and whatever the growth we achieved, that is all they were found to be socially exclusive growth. And this has been practiced since last 150 to 200 years all over the world, rising of related problems. But you know that the possibility of transition to the green economy is there, because you know that we need to invest in national capital, and where we can certainly improve the natural capital. It can be improved from the agriculture, fisheries, water, and forestry. From all these resources, the natural capital can be invested. Now we need to invest it into natural capital. If we improve this natural capital, definitely that is going to help to improve your economy. Second part is that we also need to invest in energy and resource efficiency, where the renewable energy, we should go for the renewable energy, either by solar, wind, tidal energies, biomass energies. Now from west, we are going to create a wealth. Waste water, waste material, waste biomass. And after adopting a 3R, 4R, 7R strategies, we can certainly improve the resource efficiency. Even the building materials, use of building materials, transport, tourism, and even with having a smart cities concept, we can go for this kind of economy. Now, there are many opportunities that we have for going for the green economy. So that this green economy can certainly reduce the poverty and inequality. Because as you know that there is a strong link between the poverty allocation and the waste management of the natural resources and the ecosystems, which is found to be inextricable. So that these ecosystem services provides up to 90% of the so-called GDP of the poor. That is from 50 to 90% of the GDP of the poor. And here you know that it can make out also a common interest between the developed and developing countries. And this green economy can also build a partnership of the policymakers and the business opportunity by several ways. Because we need to commercialize or we need to prioritize, particularly in the spending sectors, that can simultaneously promote the social, economic, and the environmental goals and even gains. So that there should be a ODA or underdeveloped Asia countries, ODA countries, and the South-South cooperations also. That also needs to be adopted. Now, the concept of green job, which is also being emerged from this green economy, because you know that now in the industrial area, particularly in the IT sector, there is a severe, frequent recession which is going on. And according to the UNEP program, the green job is to work into the agricultural sector, to work into the manufacturing sector, R&D, administrative and the services activities that contribute substantially to the pursuing or restricting the environmental quality. So here there is no possibility of joblessness, because you know that these are all green jobs where we have every opportunity to invest into this area, either efforts or economy, especially but not exclusively. This particularly includes the jobs that can help to protect the ecosystems and biodiversity services. That may also reduces the energy materials and the water consumption through the high efficiency strategies, which can also decarbonize the economy and minimize or altogether avoid the generation of all forms of waste and the pollution. Now, these are the main opportunities of green energy where we could see, for example, the green energy, which includes the green electricity, we call it as a clean energy. And this means it is being produced with a little to or no environmental impact and does not dispense any greenhouse gases into the air, which are found to be major culprits for the climatic change. That can contribute to the global warming and the fossil fuels also, also. So there are several types of renewable energies that we all know. There is solar energy, tidal energy, wind energy, bioenergy, and many of the energies, like a fossil biomass fuel, geothermal energy, or wind energy. Now, when we are looking of the lifespan of the energy sources, we all know that whenever we wanted to go for the green energy, so that this greening the energy sector, which particularly focus on the renewable energy supply. Let us take an example of range of the fossil fuel energies, which we are found to be a traditional source of energy. And there are certain, and isn't it, the fossil fuels energies are finite. And the tradition to the renewable energies must. For example, let us take example. If we go for the energies through these fossil fuels like uranium, up to 30 years only, oil 40 years, gas 60 years, coal 200 years. But if we get energies from the sun, it will take 5 billion years. So you have to think of that which energy that we should go for it, which is infinite. So that the part of the global energy demand for the renewable energy can also cover. For example, through sun, we can cover 380% of our demand. From geothermal, 100%. Wind energy, 50%. Biomass, 40%. From the hydropower energy, we can have a 50% demand can be met out. And from the ocean, 5%. So on the basis of the current available technologies, we can evolve this green energy or the energy, renewable energy from many of the sources. Now, we have that, which I would like to tell to you that this renewable energy has a more economic benefit than you know. Let us take example of green jobs, which I told you just now. Because here you know that there are almost 10 millions of the people around the world. There's slightly over 3 million which are being employed in this solar power, large hydropower employees at about 1.5. And that is what, when we are talking about the renewable energy jobs globally, there are 10 million people they are engaged, and over 3 million they are employed in solar energy. But you know that another economic benefit is that which we doesn't seem to get enough attention is that the renewable energy is scalable in areas where there is a very little or no electricity. Because you know that there are over 1 million people who don't have even access today for the electricity, and getting the home solar power systems, which can give them access to something that can change their lives for their better living. Now, there is always question which is being asked: is a solar energy or is green energy is efficient? Energy efficiency is also very important, and adding a new, more efficient technology, which can certainly reduce the waste in current systems. And as you know that India has been several benefits to the renewable energy too. Now, of course, when we are talking about the climate change, which can identify the weather, including the causing severe events like hurricanes, cyclones, tornadoes, wildfires, which are burden to the economy. Now, how the manufacturing industries are affecting the environment? Because you know that though these are found to be non-traditional source of the energies, we are reluctant in manufacturing this kind of energies. But you know that a manufacturer is responsible around 35% of the global electricity use and over 20% of the CO2 emissions. Here can resource extraction is there. Almost along with the extractive industries and construction, manufacturing currently accounts at about 28% of global employment. And that is what the green energy or the green economy accounts for up to 70% of the air pollution related health damages. So that here, the industrial manufacturing is responsible around 10% of the global water use. And this water use by industry, which is being expected to grow about 20% of the global total damage by 2030. So that almost, in order to achieve the green economy, we should always go for the life cycle assessment of any of the product. That is very, very important. So whenever we are going for the green procurement, we should see that this adoption of the parts and materials, whatever is which is being required for the production, whether it complies with the international environmental standards or not, that we should see. Because it helps at the procurement stage itself, it helps to reduce the components and the minimization or the minimization of what? The printed circular board, for example, at the procurement stage itself. Secondly, at the manufacturing stage, we can also have insight for it. We should go for energy saving production with a high power efficiency. Here, the resource saving reduction of the packaging material is also very important at the manufacturing stage, where we can do. Even at the distribution stage, here the energy saving reduces the logistics and even the CO2 by minimization of and the even weighing the weight saving also. Here, as you know that the resource saving in terms of reduction of the packaging material also can be done. And even at the user stage, here the energy can be saved for reduction of the power consumption. And at the end of life of the product, there should be designed in such a way that the product needs to be designed for its recycling, which can be easy to be dissociated, degraded, and improvement of this recycling rate is also needs to be increased. The expansion of the recycling program by enhancing the recycling of the expansion programs, so that the products here need to be defined from its cradle to grave, how from its procuring stage till its end of life stage, that is procuring, manufacturing, distribution, usage, and end of life. So that if the product is being defined from its cradle to grave, that will help to save your resources, to improve your product quality, and increase the market accessibility of the product. Now, here the manufacturing industries has to pursue the life cycle approaches, where we need to introduce the concept of eco-efficiency, which includes reducing the material and energy intensity of the products and enhancing the material recyclability, as well as product durability also needs to be extended. Here there is every possibility to increase the service intensity of the product. And that is what it is very, very important that the product, we should design product, always design product in such a way that it should be redesigned. Because redesign product or even businesses models in such a way that the same functionality can be delivered and with the fundamentally less use of the material and the energy. Here, we should always go for substitutes, because green inputs can be substituted for the brown inputs wherever possible. For example, we need to introduce the biomass as a source of chemical feedstock. We are using the chemicals as a feedstock, but instead of chemicals, if we go for the biomass, that will improve the efficiency of the resource. Now, we should always encourage recycling of the product, because recycle is an internal process which processes the waste, including the wastewater, high temperature, heat, back pressure, etc. So that we should use a material energy in such a way with a less environmental impact. For example, renewable or the waste inputs which for the production process are very important. Now, clean. clean energy is very important, because you know that whenever we are going for the cleaner technologies, that helps to improve the efficiency of the existing processes, to safeguard and establish a new models of the production that have a fundamentally high material efficiency and even energy efficiency too. So whenever we are looking for the industrial zones in India, we know that industrial zones are all the way we are approaching for all the time. We are even fond of industrialization. But you know that in industries, if there is an introduction of the industrial eco parks or the eco-industrial parks approach is there, then there will be a transformation of the existing parks into the there is environmentally eco-industrial parks, that we should go for the planning of new eco-industrial parks. And that is what the eco-industrial park is, a concept where any industry or state or business corporates or whatever the establishment, that with the help of local communities, they can have an attempt to reduce the waste and pollution, efficiently share the resources such as the information material, water energy, infrastructure, and even natural resources, which can certainly help to achieve sustainable development with the intention of what? With the intention of increasing economic gains and improving the environmental quality. That is very, very important. Now, this is a greening the industry, which leads to particularly what? Which leads to include economics, by improving the low production costs, less energy consumption, and even access burden to the what? To the waste tech management, less burden to the waste management. Social, that is economic benefit for the betterment of the betterment economy, where we can decrease demand of what? Decrease demand of the energy resources, clean air, water, and the better health, which decreases a demand in the sewer systems or even the landfill sites, etc. And the last one is what? Environmental issues. We should see that there should not be any environmental issues with regard to the green jobs, green alternatives, substitutions to the what I meant to say, chemical processing units, etc. Now, this is the concept of green cities, where we know that we are in the age of smart cities. But if we could have a proper strategies for greening the buildings and use of the resources, like electricity from the wind, electricity from the biomass, and these biomass and greening of the buildings can certainly reduce the impact of the climate by reducing the temperature of 4 to 5 degrees centigrade in the building itself. Now, more than half of the world population which lives in the urban area, and now cities are account for the green energy consumption and the carbon emissions. Now the carbon footprint is certainly increasing, and use of the mass transportation instead of the automobiles and the consume the large amount of the oil. Now we are going for the metros and public transportation systems, which at the improved level, which can certainly save the money on the fuel, because you know that of the total demand of the fuel, we are just a 5% of its producer. 95% of the fuel we are importing. We are paying a huge cost on it, economic cost on it. So in the buildings, efficient use of the resources such as the energy, water, and the other materials is also needed. And energy consumption can be also reduced by adopting a renewable energy resources, like we are shifting towards from CFL to the LEDs. Now we need to develop a green parks in every city. We call it as a lungs of the cities. Are you getting me? If, for example, let us take an example of the Dubai or the other Gulf countries or developed countries, you'll find that green lungs are there. Like that, we should have a green zone which can provide ecosystem services, which can also act as a green lungs of the country, of the city, absorbing and filtering the air pollution, and which can also act as a filters for the wastewater. Now, whenever we wanted to replace the pipes, for its upgradation and replacement, which has contributed to the new savings of 20% of the potable water in many industrialized cities. But these pipes needs to be replaced in time, within the time. Now we have to see that the food footprint also can be reduced. So agriculture, which has been used as a green economic vision, which particularly integrates in the location specific organic resources and the natural biological processes. For example, there should be a soil fertility management properly by restoring and enhancing the soil fertility through the what increase the use of naturally and sustainably produced nutrient inputs. Second thing is that we also need to see that they should be reducing chemical pesticides and herbicides. Its use by implementing the integrated biological pest and the weed management practices. We should go for more efficient and the sustainable water uses by reducing the soil erosion and the improving the efficiency of the improving the water use by applying a minimum tillage and the cover crop cultivation techniques. So that the crop and livestock diversification is also very essential, that needs to be done for achieving the green energy and the green economy. So that biological plant and the animal health management is also there. Biological plant and the animal health management, that also needs to be matured and maintained. So that the appropriate level of mechanization and building upstream and downstream supply chains of the businesses and the trade is certainly help to improve the green economical tool. So these are the certain sectors to come that we should look after the green economy, like a renewable energy. We should go for the green buildings, sustainable transportation systems, proper waste water management, waste management, and the land management. These are the sectors of green economy that we should look at. So that for green renewable energies, we should always go for the solar energy, wind energy wherever it's possible, geothermal, bioenergies, hydropower energy, ocean energies, and even fossil fuel green power energies. Now, this is a concept of green building, where we need to design a building in such a way that there should be every opportunity to use our resources more efficiently, creating a healthier and more efficient, energy efficient homes. Now, the green building design, which particularly implies finding the delicate balance between the home building and the sustainable environment. So that these green building techniques or the green building concept is to reduce the overall impact of the built environment on the health, human health, and the natural environment by what? By using efficiently using the energies, water, and the other resources, as well as protecting our occupant health and improving the employees' productivity, which can certainly reduce the waste, pollution, and the environmental degradation too. Now, when we are talking about the sustainable transport, which particularly refers to the transport that is approaches which are being found to be sustainable. So, as we know that transportation is a major cause of concern, which we need to improve through its effectiveness and efficiency of the transportation vehicles, as well as the environmental impact on the system itself. So that as we are looking for the sustainable transportation solutions, which can include the low carbon, low emission technologies, the issues of carbon, the air quality management is also that needs to be tackled. And the technology selection and the strategy, that is very, very important. When we are talking about ourselves, we should select such a vehicle and we should be very strategic while using this vehicle. And the green fleet management also very important, because you know that the self-sustainable technologies which helps the organizations to measure and reduce the environmental impact of their fleet operations. And the employees also, businesses or travels, including the grey fleet issues. That is also very important. Now, when we are talking about the waste management, water management, we should always encourage the water recycling of water, particularly management of water in the urban sectors. And whenever we go for the landscaping, we should also encourage a low water landscaping. And of course, you know that the water purification by using a natural barriers or natural filters is also a wise solution for this. And a storm water planning, which is very, very important, that there should be a proper planning of the storm water after its bioremediation and a partial treatment. It should be applied for its natural purification or by a tertiary water treatment systems. Now, waste management, first we should go for the waste minimization, then for its recycling and reuse, then its proper storage. For that, we need to have a proper collection, its transportation, transport, and of course, its treatment for its end of life. So that environmental considerations are very, very important, and the financial and marketing aspects, that also we should. Otherwise, you know that we are pouring a lot of amount and money into the waste management, and if we could not be able to do it efficiently and effectively, I think that will create another economic burden on the part of the system, and that too, the wealth will be also found to be at the risk. There should be proper implementation of the policy and regulations. Though there are good designing of policy and regulation, but its implementation, that makes it sense. And education and training planning and the implementation of all the strategies, that is very, very important. Now, as far as the land management is concerned, you know that we are looking for the organic agriculture, but our organic agriculture, that needs to be done with a proper sense and with a proper approach. Of course, it is very, very important that the effort should be made for its habitat conservation, because unless and until habitat is not being conserved, it will not be supported through its ecosystem. And once the ecosystem is healthy, there will be a proper food chain and food web which will be developed, which can have a proper ecological niche. And that is what a restoration, restoration of the urban forestry and the parks are very, very important for any of the cities. And you know that reforestation, afforestation, which should go on hand in hand all the time. It should be ongoing activities. And the soil stabilization techniques that needs to be adopted by replacing the natural fertilizers, replacing the chemical fertilizer by the natural fertilizers. That is very, very important that we should look into it. Now, there are some challenges to us, because you know that there is a multilateral trading. Trading is multilateral. We are doing trading either transsectoral or other countries also. This multilateral trading is a challenge for us. Technological innovation and transfer is also a challenge. We used to adopt a technology, but if we are not being able to use it efficiently, effectively, I think it is very important. It will not be transferred into its wealth. And the transfer of the product from one place to another place. that creates a lot of havoc. That also needs to be done, because the production what we are doing, for example, in the countries like India, we are doing a production in the Indian climate. But if you want to transport it to the other countries where the climate is a little adverse, then your product will not have any value. And that is what it is very important for any of the green economy, technological innovation, and its transport is very, very important factor. And then the IPR, that is global intellectual property, is also very important, that your product needs to be prioritized. It is a property right that needs to be maintained. That is fairness. And the extent of the private investment in the development of the environmentally sound technology is also very important. Because whatever the technology we need to evolve, that should be environmentally sound. Otherwise, it will of no use. It will have many other demerits. The countries like India, where the low levels of carbon emissions is a problem. Some problems in the less developed countries like India, there is a relatively low investment in the technologies. We need to adopt the technology, but investment in the technology is very low. We are more dependent on the natural resources. And you know that. The natural resources, as we are more dependent on for each and everything on natural resources, there is every degradation of the ecosystems, resource scarcity, and even the climate change challenges which are going to pull ourselves into the poverty, which are ending into the poverty. So that another problem is that we have a low investments, policy reforms, and we are not being able to maximize the local knowledge. These are needed. These are badly needed. Now, enabling the conditions for the green economy. These are the certain conditions that, for example, we should go for the green economy in the countries like India. To that, we need to establish a sound and robust regulatory framework, which is very, very important. And then we should be able to remove the harmful subsidies, particularly subsidies on the fossil fuel, agriculture, fisheries. Low down the subsidies. Then people will go for it. Then once the people are found to be independent in this system, they'll really go for it. Then we need to prioritize the green investment. Green investment, there should not be an option for this or incentives. It should be prioritized. Then the utilize market mechanisms and the taxations. Market the mechanism, global mechanism, taxation strategy, what that we should look into it. And the capacity building through the training and the technology transfer is also very important, where we are not found to be competent enough in transferring the technology. And the transformation, the consumption pattern transformation is very important, not just the technology, but consumption pattern also that needs to be transformed from its traditional to the advanced mode. And use the poverty elevation or Millennium Development Goal targets is also a challenge to the Indian system. Now, policy coherence, that is also very important, because you know that if there is no coherence between the policies, I think that will affect on the earning of the economy from the green resources. The private sector engagement, that needs to be restricted to some extent. There are certain public sector investments that needs to be encouraged always, because the countries like India, where we have a lot of problems, we should always go for the not all the time private sector engagement, but public private sectors, PPP models that need to be encouraged. Then the local authorities engagement, that is also very important, because that, for example, the resource, the knowledge, and the inputs of the local authorities, that is very also important. And the public awareness and the mobilization of the resources, that is also very important, that we should look at it. And intergovernmental cooperation between the states, between the districts, between the countries, and even between the sector, zones. There should be intergovernmental cooperation that needs to be started. Now, what is the role of government? For securing the green economy, the national development plans and strategies that needs to be strengthened. There are certain key sectors of the green economy, like energy and agriculture, which we need to encourage these sectors from the government side to the max, not by giving the subsidies, but building a basic infrastructure into the agriculture sector and not providing any subsidies for the harnessing energy, but encouraging the city dwellers and the individual customers to go for the more energy efficient technologies and efficient and effective use of the energies as and when they're in badly need of it. Then always we should evolve such a technology where there's a low carbon systems that we need to evolve all the time. And the double divided policies, employment and the green growth, this policy that needs to be adopted, not by cutting the employment, but allowing employee to go for the green growth, that is to be done. And the labor market adjustment, where the high labor mobility that the income security and the national and education system that needs to be improved, because you know that though it is being there in every education system that we should go for the eco-friendly and the green product, but you know that unless and until the ethical values of the green product, which is not being emphasized and which is not being put on their not only in from the examination point of view, but on their ethical mode, I think it will not be served. And weakness of the business as usual approach is very, very difficult, because that business, we should look business as an opportunity, not as a usual mode of your progress. That is to be very important. Now, why we are talking about the green economy, because you know that now the world is facing a problem of global warming and the climate change, rising sea levels. There's a birth of that is a death of birds which are going on. This is, you know that we are all realizing the fresh water shortages. We are suffering from the ecological footprints and growing unemployment. That is what we are looking for, this green economy. There are certain social issues and crises, so justice issues and crises which are also going on, because you know that there are about 3 billion people there under the income of $2 per day and 9.1 billion by 2050, biggest increase in the developing countries. Almost 1 billion people chronically will be undernourished, and wealth of the 3 rich will evolve 600 million poor, and no schooling for the children from 1 to 5 years of age, 1 in 5 children, and most of the population growth that is in poorest regions. There are more than 80 countries all over the world, they are poorer than the 20 years ago, and that is what we should go for, the green economy, so that the green economy can be achieved for the well-being, living well within the ecological limits, so that this is a socio-technical system that we should provide the social needs and the values, because you know that looking into the ecosystems and the environmental ecosystem services what we are getting, we should see that what are the environmental externalities, what we should look into it, so that though there are certain technologies we are looking for, but you know that there are several other values that we need to improve. There are certain other things that we need to improve, like a policy, value of the product, science that should be put into it, technological use, know-hows of the technological, market strategies, and how much we should go for industrializing the countries. That is very, very important. And that is what it is very, very important to see that the whenever we are going for the green economy, it should be sound enough. So what are the global Green New Deals we are looking for? That we need to revive the world economy, create a new and decent jobs, and protect to the vulnerables. So this green economy will certainly reduce the carbon dependency, ecosystem degradation, and the water scarcity. This will also eliminate the persistent poverty by 2025, which I told you that, which will certainly achieve the Millennium Development Goals. Now, technological change is the key, because the installation of the energy efficient infrastructure, for example, the equipments and the appliances is very essential for meeting the energy demand, for marginalizing the security and the meeting the climatic goals. So that these technological transitions, both deployment and development, they are very important in power generations, building, especially in the commercial buildings. equipmental appliances and the industry and their mobilities. Now, this this is the consumer decision. Information is very important. Whatever you are doing, like for example, we are all the time we are providing product through the 3-star, 5-star, 6 stars energy efficient products. That is should be there, and that is what whenever we wanted to achieve the economic sustainability, the major challenge of our time is to create a form of commerce that uplifts the entire human community by 7.5 billion, that does not show in the way that respect both natural and the cultural diversity. And that is the only realistic and viable pathway to end sustainable world. Business can also must lead the way. Now, in conclusion, so this green economy, which has the potential to the path of sustainable development, which can also help to eradicate the poverty, the spread of transition into the green economy, which varies among the country, the knowledge, the information, and the resources, which are very essential during the transition to the green economy, so that there will be new challenges which are posing during the journey to the green economy. And that is what, though there are certain challenges, but there is no way for the green economy when we want to really progress with the economic dimensions. With this, I think I conclude. If you have any questions, suggestions, and if you wanted to add something, you are most welcome. Thank you very much. Anything for me? Hello?
Hello, yes, sir, please. Hello, sir, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
I am
yes, sir.
audible.
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
If you have any questions, suggestions, if you want to always, please.
Any question, please? Observation, you can proceed, please.
Anything for me?
No, sir. We have understood. As
Okay.
such, all about the circular economy, greener economy. So, participants, if you have any questions related to today's session, you can post it or you can just unmute yourself and ask your doubts to sir directly. I guess there are no doubts, sir. Even the chat box is also empty. So, sir, if the session is over, please allow me to give the vote of thanks,
Okay, no problem.
a formal vote of thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. As we bring this session to a close, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to Professor Satish Patil, sir, for a truly enlightening session on environmental economic and overview of relationship between economic and environment. Sir, your emphasis on assessing the impact of infrastructure development and other activities on the ecosystem will definitely help us in monitoring and curtailing the carbon footprint at the individual level. Sir, you also highlighted that the economy and the environment being the two sides of the same coin, there should be a proper balance between them, such that achieving economic growth should have minimal impact on the environment. Your lucid explanation of core concepts such as public goods, cost benefit analysis, pros and cons of economic development, carbon tax and carbon credit, and the detailed explanation of sustainable growth using greener technologies, circular and greener economy, the different R's which we can use to reduce this economic burden greatly enrich our understanding about the topic. So thank you, sir, for delivering such an insightful and thought-provoking lecture.
Thank
Last
you.
but not least, Sir, last but not the least, we are also grateful to Dr. Dhanashri Mahajan, madam. She is the director of UGC MMTC, Dr. Bamu, Assistant Director Dr. Rafe sir for their meticulous planning in spoon conduct of the 16th FIP.
Yeah,
A special thanks to Mr. Gaurav sir and his behind the scene team for their efforts in ensuring seamless experience. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your enlightening lecture.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Earlier to Majan madam,
Thank
I
you, sir.
was the director of this HRDC. Now I joined
Okay,
it.
okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, we really understood your today's topic. I'm an assistant professor in Wilson College, and my study is also on this environmental and air pollution studies. So I
Okay.
can literally correlate with what you were discussing in today's session.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.